Facebook, Anchor FM, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and About Face Radio. Simply search Today with Tally and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to get every episode and stay up to date with the latest and greatest our guests in this show has to offer. Folks, today I want to thank 10th Mountain Whiskey. They are today's show sponsor. The 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company is a staple in the Vail Valley of Colorado, and it's the 2021 Craft Distillery of the Year. The 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company is an extension of the mountain lifestyle, bringing together the old with the new. The unique tastes and flavors of 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company is what keeps bringing friends together, making new memories and sharing those of the past while huddled around a Rocky Mountain campfire, telling stories and building camaraderie. Our brand can be found across the country to satisfy all of your whiskey and spirit needs. To learn more, visit 10thwhiskey.com today. That's 10thwhiskey.com. Now, if you use promo code TALLY, T-A-L-L-Y, use promo code TALLY, and you will receive 10% off at checkout. Now, folks, please drink responsibly, and you must be 21 years old to visit the website and purchase any and all alcohol-related products. Folks, we have got a very special guest joining us on today's program. Now, let me set this up. Now, Jason Murff is the CEO of Grill Your Ass Off, and he is a Texas-based entrepreneur. Now, Jason has been featured on Forbes, Fox Business, and he was also named the Veteran-Owned Small Business of the Year in 2022 by the American Freedom Fund. Now, the cool thing about Murff is he's a veteran of the Army. He's a pilot. He's a successful entrepreneur. And the coolest thing about him is he's a college dropout. And he has proven to everybody out there that you don't need to go to college to be successful. All you need is some passion and a plan to get things rolling in the positive direction. And with that, we are honored to be joined by Jason Murff, the CEO of Grill Your Ass Off. How are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Another day, another dollar, my friend. I'm just here living out my dream of doing my podcast and just taking it day by day, brother, day by day.
Love it.
So we recently met at a ruck in support of what was it? AEP Outdoors.
Yep. Alpha Elite Performance Outdoors, APE.
AEP out there in Montgomery, Texas. You had a booth, and I was like, man, this guy's got seasonings and he's got hot sauce. So what did I do? Of course, I walk up to your booth and I make a purchase. I get some of this Willie Pete stuff, and then I get some Fire Chief hot sauce, and I got a business card. I'm like, man, this guy would be a great guest on the podcast. We reached out, and here you are. On the podcast, we're going to talk about what you do at Grill Your Ass Off, how you got into this, and what your vision is for this year and abroad.
Travis Wilson put on that event with Alpha Elite Performance as his main, and he's got his nonprofit APE Outdoors, which is one of the nonprofits that we help support, and we wanted to actually have a presence there to let people know, like, hey, not only do we support, but here's our awesome products as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Travis is a good guy. And he's also been on this show as well. I'm a big supporter of Alpha Elite Outdoors, as well as his protein and supplement company that he has that he ships out nationwide. You guys have a very, very similar business plan, if you will. Both got the warehouses, both got your products, both got good labels, both are veteran owned entrepreneurs, and you guys are both kicking life's ass. We're going to say the word ass a lot, guys, in today's show, so just be advised.
Yeah, it was funny because Travis and me have been around pretty much around the same amount of time with our businesses, and we knew of each other, but we had never met or talked to each other until last year in November, just before Veterans Day. We were both in Nashville, Tennessee for another nonprofits event. And Jessica had pretty much just been like, hey, you and you need to meet. And it was just, as soon as we met, we were just like, oh shit, okay, yeah, and became amazing friends.
That is awesome, man. I love it. Trying to set up a little deal here, but my box is too small. So
yeah, anyway. I was gonna say the new labels have come a long way. As you can see, this is the original seasoning label, which was a
holy smoke. Okay. Keep that up. Now, this guy is getting good at what he's doing. Now, look at that. Big difference there between the old and the new. And really, and having a business like yours, because look, let's face it, there's a million seasoning companies out there. So you need to have a brand that people are going to respond to. It's all about perception. It's all, perception is reality. And if you have some good marketing, you got, some good graphics and something that's going to stand out, that's going to draw people in. And, what you've done is unique. Like this one here is Fire Chief hot sauce. If I'm a fire chief or a firefighter, I'm probably going to buy it because it's got a donkey on it, and it's got some good graphics there. And then, of course, this Willie Pete's, and, again, it's benefiting veterans and first responders and all those like-minded individuals that want to go out and they want to support veteran-owned small businesses. And sometimes they may not have extra money to give to donate, but that's where you can get them and say, hey, look, you don't need to do that. You can just purchase our products for $11.99 or $8.99 or whatever it may be. And you're still going to be doing that same, giving, generously. And we're going to give you something, in return, for you, not only supporting our business, but, some profits of our proceeds are also going to go toward folks like Alpha Elite Outdoors and, like you had mentioned, giving to other nonprofits as well that you support.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that was really the premise of whenever starting Grill Your Ass Off. It's like the idea happened, while I was actually in college. And is that you want to jump inside the whole entire story and all that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, so really the seasoning aspect, which is what we're known of what I started the company with, started while I was actually still in the military. I just did not know that I was going to pursue a grilling or a seasoning company once I got out. And that's so in 2012 is whenever I left for the Army. I joined in 2011, had to deal with some medical stuff to actually be able to get in. So that took about 8 months. And then once I was actually in, went off, joined as an 11 Bravo, which is infantry, went through the whole entire cycle. And while we're in reception, you're there for 2 weeks in reception, which is basically you're getting all your shots, vaccines, you're getting all your, ID cards, uniforms, everything like that. And there was one specific spot in reception that I had completely forgot about until the end of basic training that I learned about. And that's whenever they do the recruitment for the Old Guard. And the Old Guard is where you go to Arlington National Cemetery, you do funerals, ceremonies, and other fun stuff around the military district of Washington. It's supposed to be requirements to get in the Old Guard, and it's supposed to be a volunteer-only unit. I had no idea what the Old Guard was. I didn't know it existed because while in reception, they had a briefing for the Old Guard, but you had to be 6 foot or taller to go in it. I'm 5'9", so they told me to just shut up and sit down. So I was in a completely different room. So fast forward to the end of AIT, whenever we're getting our names called off on orders on where to go, like everyone is either going to the 101st or the 25th Infantry Division. Both are about to deploy. So like, we're all freaking stoked. We're like, hell yeah, we're going to go, do what we joined for. And they get to my name, which I'm in 4 squad because of Murph. And my drill sergeant looks at me and he goes, Murph, why the fuck would you join the Old Guard? And I was just like, drill sergeant, I have no idea what the fuck that is. So found out pretty quick, straight out of basic, that you can get voluntold to do a lot of volunteer-only stuff. Got stuck at the Old Guard and did exactly what drill sergeant told me that I was going to do, never deploy and just stand there and look pretty. So we that's kind of how my military service went. Went directly into the Old Guard. Found out really quick that if you were fit and smart, you could go and do whatever school you wanted to and get out of doing funerals and ceremonies. So right off the bat, I joined wanting to go to Ranger school. It's the only reason why I picked the Army and the only reason why I picked the infantry. So my platoon sergeant told me, get fit, be smart, and you can do whatever you want while you're here. So started working out a ton, getting to go to all the schools but Ranger school that I wanted to go to. And along with being fit, I decided to go ahead and do some men's physique competitions while I was there. So dieting down that lean, I was eating super like bland and boring food. And a lot of people don't know who are in the South, who are fortunate like us. Up north, there's a severe lack of flavor. And with that lack of flavor makes dieting down and eating bland, boring food even worse. So I would have friends and family send me spices from Texas up to DC. And after a while, I was like, man, like if all these people are making all these spices, I can, create something on my own. So I started putting everything together, just not knowing where it was going to lead to. In 2015, I ended up destroying my ankle and getting a botched surgery by a Navy doctor at Walter Reed, which then led me to have the option of change my MOS, re-enlist, and hopefully find another military doctor, or go ahead and get medically discharged and find a civilian doctor with their head out their ass. So I chose that route right there, which kind of, along with everyone else who gets medically discharged in that kind of facet, like I had envisioned, hey, I'm going to go to Ranger school. I'm going to stay in for a long time. I enjoy this. Hey, your whole entire career process that you've been thinking and dreaming about is gone. So with that aspect, it kind of changed everything. And while I was getting out and doing all of my, ACAP, I think is what they called it. I don't know what it is now. And I was going through that. I was like, all right, well, I need to find something that I'm going to do since the Army is not that anymore. And I ended up signing up and finding a school in Waco, Texas that I could go to college, use the GI Bill to get my commercial pilot's license. And I was like, I've always loved like racing and doing like fun, high speed stuff. And I was like, okay, let me give flying airplanes for a try. And once I got out, I ended up finding a doctor, getting a full reconstruction surgery. And I've had 2 since then, and just found out the other day, we're probably going to need another one on top of that. So still dealing with the ankle stuff. But I started flying, and I found out pretty quick flying a school bus in the sky is pretty boring. And it wasn't something for me. It's one of those aspects to where if we went up and flew together, we would have a blast. But for me, sitting down and following all the regulations for 8 hours a day with a whole bunch of assholes behind me and Karens, it's not enjoyable for me. It's not. It wasn't what I wanted to do. So at that time, I had to, again, kind of reshift everything. And with that, I was kind of in a deep, dark spot at that point of, I just lost my military career. I tried to change my whole entire aspect by going to college. I'm doing something that I didn't want to do. And I didn't have a purpose. And I went through that dark phase that I think a lot of veterans do, transitioning out of like, what's my purpose? What's my why? And the loss of camaraderie. And that's where, kind of grill your ass off spark, to where it's like, I have an opportunity to be able to start a company and around something that I like, which is food. I already have some ideas for some seasonings. What do I need from this? And what do I see other veterans needs? Because there was other veterans that were going through the pilot program with me. And I also had friends that were getting out at the same time. And it was one of those things that I stopped and said, hey, humor is what got us through all of our dark times while we were serving. It doesn't matter like what had happened. At the end of the day, we all end up cracking a joke about something pretty messed up normally. And it brings light. It brings a smile. It just brought a smile to your face. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be funny. And that was one of the things I was actually brainstorming with my dad. I'd gone back to Houston one weekend, and he was just like, yeah, you should call it like grill your ass off. And I was just like, oh shit, like that's actually pretty funny, but I don't think any like big box stores would carry us. So I don't know about that. So I went back, sat on it for about 2 weeks, ended up getting drunk and talking to a couple of my buddies on the phone one night. And I was like, screw it. I jumped on Fiverr and paid a kid in Venezuela $15 to draw me a donkey on a grill. And that was our original logo. And I was like, holy shit, like there's something here. So the next aspect with that, and why I wanted to go with the food aspect outside of just, like I love to eat and I love to create stuff. It's the camaraderie. Every time that we had a squad get together, we had a party at the house, it was always associated around food, whether, Super Bowl, however. And it's just like food has such a powerful thing because it doesn't matter your race, religion, politics. If I put down a brisket in front of you, everyone shuts the hell up at the table. They sit down, they eat, and they enjoy each other's presence. So those two things, humor and then the food, brings around this amazing camaraderie. So it's like, okay, I have these two things. Now, what are we going to do with the labels? Like, what is it going to show? Are we just going to do a donkey on the grill for every single one? Because that can get pretty boring. And that's whenever the ideas came of like, okay, hey, what am I going to call it? And originally I was like, I'm going to name it every single different kind of weapon system in the military. And I was like, that can get kind of boring too. So the first ever seasoning that we created was Maudu steak seasoning. And I called it Maudu's because I had 4. I had what is now known as Willie Pete, Infidel, Claymore, and Maudu's. And Maudu's had all the heavier granulates inside of the seasonings. And I called it Maudu's because I was like, that's the biggest one. The next one was Willie Pete, which is what you have in your hand right there. And it's a Southwest garlic style seasoning, which is great for chicken, but it's also great on a ton of other things like vegetables, pork, turkey, any kind of poultry. So I was like, well, chicken is like the original white meat. So let's call it Willie Pete, which is short for white phosphorus. So, and we started naming it these things after certain nomenclatures inside the military to where if I'm not there to tell the story and all of that kind of stuff, we can get veterans, first responders, and just people who love America to pick up that bottle. And if that brings a smile to their face because they get memories of, being downrange shooting a Maudu's or, throwing a white phosphorus grenade, the name Infidel pork rub or gunpowder steak and brisket seasoning, we can bring smile and like humor and lighten someone's day. Or, in best case scenario, they pick up a phone and they call their battle buddy that they were with that is having a bad day. And it could be potentially, that day that they decide to take their life. So like if something as, little as putting a funny cartoon character on a product label, we've seen such an impact. And that's even like dating back to, we have Vietnam vets that hit us up talking about how much they love the product because their wife bought it from them because they thought it was cute inside a little boutique that they were shopping at. So that's how Grill Your Ass Off, the product names and everything like that came to be. And if you notice, like inside of that on the cartoon character, like we try to hide funny little humorous stuff inside of there.
Right.
And if you can probably tell with the donkey throwing that grenade on there, the original concept, I sent him a photo of a chicken and I sent him a photo of the World War II figure guy that everyone knows of on the poster with the grenade getting ready to throw it like this right there. And I said, make that. And it's evolved into a horrible cartoon character chicken into what you have now. And, just continuing to bring that aspect of humor to it. If you look at the Fire Chief bottle that you have, it's Chief Ass. His helmet number is 69. And we specifically put the fire hose in a, appropriate position. So, and that's just, we want to have humor. We want to have fun.
Appropriate position. I love it.
But we back all of that with a quality product. And it's a product to where once you get it, it's not just a label and good marketing. It's good marketing and a quality product. And that's what creates a good business, because not only are you able to acquire customers through marketing, you're able to retain customers with a good product.
Sure. I've got a question for you. You've got, this seasoning here, if you guys see it, I mean, it's just full of just good old, just beautiful flavor, right? And, you've got, salt, you got garlic, you got spices, brown sugar, onion, paprika, red bell pepper, and just a bunch of other stuff. So, like, have you sat down and started to put these concoctions together, 10% this, 5% this, 20% this, and then try till you say, okay, this is my formula here for this one product. How can I mass make this? Or is this, or do you go to a seasoning company that may represent 100 different brands or 100 different companies? They just change the label. How did you come up with this specific formula for all of your products?
So it's a mixture of the two. A lot of it starts with just, like you said, a bunch of raw ingredients sitting out in a bowl, and we put everything in, we mix it. And I mean, a lot of people see that as like, oh man, that must be so cool. But 99% of the time, it's like, put it all in a bowl, mix it, taste it. All right, that's shit. And then restart, and then restart and restart. And it's just product testing after product testing. Whenever I thought I put everything together, I was like, oh man, this is hot shit. Like, people are going to love it. We went to a bottling facility that does a ton of people's other spices as like hey, I want to make sure this is good with, the health department. We're up to code on everything. We want help with bottling because I don't have a facility for it. And they looked at my, ingredients, recipes, all that kind of stuff. And they were like, okay, yeah, we're going to have to change a lot of this stuff, because what is commercially available to a regular everyday consumer is a lot different than a manufacturer. But there's also things that help make it shelf stable. There's certain manufacturing processes that we have to do to certain spices to where whenever you, the end user, pops the top, it's not just straight dust and you're hawking up a lung for the next hour because you swallowed a whole bunch of cumin. So there's certain things like that I had no idea. So a lot of it is in-house, test. And another aspect is working with great manufacturers and partners to help expedite that, because it's easier to pay someone who has the knowledge to help you get there versus you taking the next year of trying to figure out how to make, a great quality product.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Now, you are fairly still green at this. I mean, 2016, you're talking, 7 years ago, is when you created Grill Your Ass Off. And, I pulled this directly from your website. We have been on a wild roller coaster of unprecedented growth, becoming one of the fastest growing veteran-owned seasoning companies in the USA. Describe your work ethic and what your vision was in 2016 and now where you are today in 2023 on getting to where you are today.
The work ethic, it really started, I was blessed to have two amazing parents that basically bought what someone had said was a failing business, and they've turned it into one of the most successful Ace Hardwares in the state of Texas. So I grew up pretty much, my dad was driving from Beaumont, Texas to Houston, which, if no one knows, that's a 2-hour commute if there's no traffic. Every single day whenever I was just born, to be a manager at that Ace Hardware. And then whenever I turned 1, they ended up moving out there. So my whole entire life was growing up with them running a business. So I learned that work ethic from them. And then moving into, whenever I started both two businesses before I left for the military, I had an understanding of what it was, but not to the full extent that we have now of Grill Your Ass Off. And, that really helped me going into the military because I already had the work ethic. I knew, hey, if you want something, you got to get off your ass and do it. So that was no problem there. And then, coming into Grill Your Ass Off, it's like, hey, cool. I have no problem, waking up at 4 a.m. and working till 11 o'clock at night. That's no issue whatsoever. And, working on Saturdays and Sundays, that's just a normal day. There's no such thing as weekends and off days whenever you're your own business owner. So it's starting it. I did not see it getting to where we are now. It was more one of those things of like, hey, yeah, that'd be cool if we can, just jump in every once in a while, make a couple sales, like make a decent living out of it, and, see what happens, was kind of like the aspect of it. And right off the bat, we did our first ever event with the wrong side is backwards with that product right there, and that was one of our leftovers. So we made a small batch, and it's funny because we actually had a miscommunication with our manufacturer that we first started with of the bottle size. So we requested 16-ounce bottles. There's a miscommunication. All those showed up in 8-ounce bottles. So all the labels that I had didn't fit the 8-ounce bottles. So the reason why there's a white label on that right there is because I had to use my military star card, as most people know, that I still had. And I had to go and buy a printer and Avery shipping labels from Office Depot, because that was the only place that was open the night before our first ever event of me trying to sell this product. And we stayed up, me and my old roommate, Miller, who I served with, in my apartment, hand labeling every single bottle. And then the very next day, I mean, we sold almost every single bottle we had. I think we had like 11 bottles of the Cajun seasoning left over. And I was like, dude, there's something here. And that's whenever...
Or you could have just done this, just get some Post-it notes and just grill your ass on it and just stick it on the bottle like this. And you're like, yep.
We probably would have done just as good.
Right.
And like, so, and it's like, it's little things like that that like really makes me humble whenever I go back and think about it. But you know, we did that and it had such a great success. And it was one of those things I was like, dude, I got this, like, we have it made. So that's whenever I decided, I was like, you know, screw it. I'm going to drop out of college. I'm good to go. Move back from Waco, Texas to Houston, Texas, go all in on this. And then, you know, that was the first time I dropped out of college, because I found out pretty quick, like, hey, this business stuff is pretty hard, especially with a lower margin item like a consumable good. And that's whenever I realized, I was like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and enroll back in University of Phoenix online to get that GI Bill to help pay for rent. So I did that for a little bit, and it was kind of, you know, hey, let's try this style pop-up show. Let's try this style pop-up show. Hey, let's build the website on this new different platform. And then, you know, hey, let's go get it on here. And it was just slowly building up the network and really, you know, breaking into that veteran-owned business network to where as soon as you're inside there and you know all of these people, just like we were talking with Travis, you know, once you have a name inside the veteran business world and you're a reputable person, it's very quick to grow. In like the civilian business world where everyone's just cutthroat and hates everyone, there is that in the veteran world. But in the veteran world, it's more of like, hey, brother, how can I help you? What can we do? And that, I feel like that has exponentially helped the growth of Grill Your Ass Off so much more than I could have ever expected.
Love it. You know, and as a veteran-owned business, you know, you say, hey, look, we take pride in every point of the journey, you know, from the manufacturing process to the end user, you know, like you were saying, ensuring the highest quality and the best service of your products. And like I was saying in the beginning, there are probably a million seasoning companies out there, and you need to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. And I'm sure there's a bunch of you guys out there that are always like, how can we be more like this? Or what kind of innovation can we use? I mean, because really what you do is all about product innovation, because a lot of seasonings are the same. I mean, you can go and get a ton of different seasonings and sit down and you probably couldn't say, man, oh yeah, that's the Willie Pete stuff. So really it's the labeling that really will set you apart in a lot of the, you know, and being noticed and getting on the shelves. What is that process like on being on the store shelves across the country? And how can people go ahead and grab a bottle of your product?
So, I mean, the easiest way, especially like if you're listening to this and you're trying to start your own business, is obviously you need a website. That's the easiest way, because you'll learn this really quick, just the same way that I did. Whenever you're like, oh, hey, my product is shit hot, like all these people are going to stock it in their store, and then you go to their store and they're just like, you're who? No, I'm not going to carry your shit. That's a real eye opener. And I had the same thing, because I was like, oh yeah, you know, our product's great. Like, oh, it's got a catchy name, these cool labels, like people are going to buy it right away. And we were just hit with no. And that's, you know, aspect, I was like, oh, I'll start this as a B2B business. Let's go straight inside brick and mortar stores. And no brick and mortar stores wanted to carry us because we had no social proof. We had no website. We had no customers, none of that kind of stuff. And that's whenever it kind of took a step back. And it's like, we need to start the direct to consumer business and get a following and get social proof and actually grow with this. And once we started doing that, then it was kind of word of mouth. And we had retailers requesting us, hey, this person came in and said that your product is absolutely amazing. We have a big grill section inside of our hardware store. We want to carry your product, kind of aspect to it. And then once we started seeing that, it was, me just sitting at night, searching all these stores, like who could carry our product. And then like, hey, let's work on a brand deck that we can present them with our product catalog of why you should carry this product. And, it started growing in probably in 2018, we were in about 150 or so retail locations. And now we're in just over 1,000 retail locations. And a lot of that was, growing your network and knowing the right place to be and when to be, and finding out some of these bigger wholesale markets, but not only just the in-person markets, the online wholesale markets on that aspect of that. And once we really started to grow in that, we started, bringing on, hey, let's hire sales reps. And we figured out, with sales reps, it's a great way to get your foot in the door to all of these businesses, locations, and everything like that. But it's also a great way for your customers to start to hate you because sales reps do not care about the product as much as you do. In that aspect, whenever you hire external sales reps. So that was a lot of it. And then creating and maintaining just these amazing relationships with multiple different people is really what helped us a ton grow on that aspect. But most people don't realize, we're here at the warehouse manufacturing, 5 days a week. And typically I'm leaving on a Friday to go to do most of the time a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, and then turning around, coming right back here on Monday and working. And a lot of times, especially like with wholesale markets, I'm leaving on a Monday and doing a wholesale market Tuesday through Sunday, and then coming back that next week. Just for instance, in January, we had the Dallas market. We were there, had a night off. I drove back down to, Salado, spent the night at the house, and then turned around and drove to Atlanta, was there for a week, came back for, 4 days, straight to Vegas for SHOT Show, came back for 2 days, straight to Vegas for the wholesale market show. And it's just nonstop hustle, and maintaining, again, relationships. It's not about what you have, it's about who you know.
Sure. Folks, we're being joined by Jason Murff. He is the CEO of Grill Your Ass Off and also a veteran-owned small business. Now, Grill Your Ass Off products are available in 1,000 retail locations. Go online today, grillyourassoff.com, to find out where those locations are, or if you want to connect with Jason Murff. Now, I like the entrepreneurial skill set and the advice that you're giving our listeners today. You've turned your no's into yeses, and by being a doer and finding your why through purpose, passion, and a plan. And because you've turned those no's into yeses, found your why, and you began to vision and put in motion your plan, backed by, again, you have to have that passion in order to be successful, because that's what keeps everything rolling. You have found yourself to be featured in Forbes. You've found yourself to be featured on Fox Business. You were also named the Veteran-Owned Small Business of the Year in 2022 by the American Freedom Fund. Has this type of attention helped you get on store shelves from sea to shining sea?
Yes, no, 100%. Because what a lot of people are looking for is validation, because that's somebody's hardworking money. It's somebody's dream that they started a store and they put their heart and soul into that. So if they're going to invest into a product that's going to go on their shelf, that's square footage. And, retail stores measure how much money they make based off of how much profit they can make per square foot. So if they're going to bring on a company, it needs to be a company that their customers are going to want, know, and buy, and continue to buy, especially. So by being able to say, hey, look, Forbes featured us. Hey, we were on Fox Business. We were named Veteran-Owned Small Business of the Year by American Freedom Fund. That's all things that, kind of is the icebreaker. So to say, just like if you were on a date, you need a good icebreaker, and being able to have that, on our product catalog and inside of our pitch deck, that's just all things to help open up the door.
Sure. Now, what was it like being nominated to, for the Small Business Owner of the Year in 2022 and then actually winning that award?
So we were nominated just before COVID in 2019. And it was one of those things, James, who was my first employee, and then turned first part-time employee, first full-time employee. It's pretty much my number 2 inside the business. He lives in North Carolina. So they do the award ceremony in DC. So it's like, oh, hey, shit, like we have this amazing opportunity. Flew out there. We made a couple different points and stops to see a couple people that we know. Went to the award ceremony, and Chris from Cruise Customs Flags, another amazing veteran. If y'all need custom made wooden flags or anything wood wise, hit up, Cruise Custom Flags. He won that in 2019. And it was actually pretty funny because Nick Palmachano was with me, and he patted me on the back whenever they called Chris's name, not mine. He said, hey, I've lost this award twice, so get used to it. Then COVID happened. Fast forward a few years later, we received the nomination again in 2022. And it was one of those things of like, I was like, man, we have all this other stuff going on in the business. I don't know if I'm going to like actually take, the time off and actually fly up there. I was like, what if we're not nominated or we don't win again? And it was one of those things. And James was like, but what if we do? And I was just like, I don't know. And I kind of sat on it for about 2 days, and I jumped on the phone with him. I said, hey, I'm flying into North Carolina on this date. We're going to drive up together and freaking win this goddamn thing. And that was one of those things. Like I remember specifically, the stage was, kind of off to the side, and I'm at a 45-degree angle kind of behind the crowd. Because we weren't expecting them to announce it. We were actually eating food, and they started to announce it. And it was just like, my heart started racing, and I was just like, all right, hey, look, here's the attempt. They named off everyone, and they said that. And it was funny because Nick Palmachano was the MC announcing all the people. And Nick said that, and it was just like kind of, heart stop. And it makes you stop and think of why Grill Your Ass Off was started, why we are here. And, just recapping the whole entire life cycle of Grill Your Ass Off and the people that we've impacted and helped and the differences that we've made along the way.
Yeah, everything just comes full circle. It's kind of like in that movie when you kind of see that snapshot of your life just kind of, just right before your eyes, and that imagination and that creation and everything that you've put your blood and sweat and tears and money and time, it all comes into fruition on a award to be recognized nationally on saying, you know what, I did it, and by just having that, like, man, I did it. Now the real work begins. Right. And so, you took home that award. You started in 2016. You're 7 years into this. You win that award in 2022. Now you've been featured all over the place. You're in 1,000 different stores across America. And now you're like, okay, now I need to maintain. And now I need to innovate. Now I need to keep going. Now I need to create new stuff, new spices and new concoctions and new hot sauce, so I can continue to grow my name, because now I have a platform. Yeah. And now that I have the platform, now is when I could start to grow. Now is when I could start to lift others up. Now is when I can really start to make a difference in the veteran community. Would you agree?
No, 100%. And it's funny too, because like you sit there and a lot of people will see something like that and they're like, oh man, you must have went out and partied and, took time off after that and, really reflected on this award and like rewarded yourself. And it's like James and me went out, we had a few drinks. We went, and the only reason why we had a few drinks is every time I go back to DC, I always go to Murphy's Irish Pub. which if anyone's never been there, if you're in Old Town Alexandria, it's absolutely phenomenal. Very, very veteran and military friendly place. So we had a few drinks that night. The next morning, we were up at 4:30 in the morning, drove back to North Carolina. I jumped on a plane, came right back here to Texas and worked. And it's just like, and it's all those things that you just said, like they click inside your head. It's like, I'm just getting fucking started. We haven't even started going down the route of where we want to take this thing. And it's just like, okay, hey, cool. We won this award. Now we have, a trophy sitting on side the shelf, but like now is where we really make a big impact inside the community that we want to hit.
You've probably already done this, but have you reached out to like grill makers like Weber and, some of the larger ones out there, or maybe all the different barbecue joints, in Texas, to see if they could start carrying your rubs or, for their briskets or anything like that? Like, have you really started to concentrate on the state of Texas and all the small little mom and pop shops?
So for the mom and pop shops, yes. For a lot of the barbecue shops, especially like in Texas, they're typically just going to be using a salt pepper garlic blend or their own in-house blend, so they can turn around and sell that. So for the barbecue shop aspect, there's not a ton of room of growth inside there. But we actually have quite a few restaurants who sell our stuff. I know we have some restaurants that buy our gunpowder because it looks just like gunpowder, because we add activated charcoal to it, and they actually use it to rim martini glasses, and they call it a gunpowder martini. So we have stuff like that. We have a couple other places that buy our seasonings by the pallet load, that do meal prep and everything like that. So there's a lot of really weird marketplaces to it. As for the grilling companies, again, a lot of them have their own spices, but we do have, partnerships with quite a few different people. We've worked with Traeger, we worked with Weber. We got amazing friends over at Pit Barrel. They're also veteran owned. It's actually Corman that actually owns that. So Pit Barrel is a great company that we've worked with for a long time. We've collaborated before on giveaways and everything else like that.
So it sounds like your preferred customers are guys just like me. They're going out to Home Depot or Lowe's and getting a grill, and they see some seasonings on the shelf, and they're like, "Hey, honey, we're going to go grill today." And they grab your product off the shelf. They go home and they sprinkle their food. They grill it and like, "Oh wow, this is great." So it just sounds like you really are in that retail world and not really, going into all these different types of restaurants, because like you said, they create their own blends and all that other stuff. So. Can you give us some of the top names or top businesses that you are in right now?
So we're actually our primary locations are going to be Ace Hardware's, and we're actually in the final stages, just so people like get a full grasp of how some of this stuff works. On my personal social media, I posted this in December. In 2017, I believe it was February, it was my original email to Ace Corporate for us to try and get inside of Ace. December of 2022 is whenever I had my first meeting with Ace. We are now on March 8th, and we are uploading. We're still in the pending phase for final approval to have all of our products available for Ace Hardware owners to buy off of Ace Hardware's back-end website. So we are hopefully soon going to be pushing out everywhere that our products are available inside of Ace Hardware. And if they're not at their local Ace Hardware, go kick their manager in the nuts and tell them that they need to sell it. But we're still in that phase right there. We also have a couple other meetings with other big key accounts, but for the most part, what we've done is we've actually worked with the mom and pop shops, the people who want they want to carry hardworking, smaller businesses, because what happens is you have businesses who go from, individual, very small niche marketplaces. So you have all these mom and pop style stores that are like, oh my God, our customers love your product because you're not available in Walmart or every single other big chain store. So we really backed other small businesses in the early stages of growing this. And now we're kind of at that phase of we're really working hard on getting in some big box stores to really grow our presence. But we're very cautious of who we work with, because you can only launch to retail once. if you fail that initial launch to retail, that can destroy a brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I never really thought about that. Say you get into Lowe's and nobody's buying your stuff. Well, that's going to get around, and when you see it
Right.
somewhere, you're going to be
And
hesitant
so,
to buy it.
right. And there's other aspects of it, like a lot of people don't know, most big box stores work on net 90 terms, meaning that whenever they come pick up the product to go inside that store, you're not getting paid in 90 days if they pay on time, which a lot of times bigger stores like to, extend that out a little bit past 90 days. So, say if we get into Lowe's and they drop $100,000, I have to somehow figure out how to pay for that product for 90 days if they pay on time and float that cash. And, if they get the products inside a store and it doesn't move and they decide, hey, you know what, we're just going to cut ties with this person. We're going to put all of their products at 99 cents on sale and clearance. That just defaced my company. And that's a lot of the aspects whenever people, they're like, hey, why aren't you in grocery stores? Why aren't you here? Why aren't you there? One, because of what I just said, but two, they also want it at the most minimal, smallest amount of cost possible to where we're really not making any money at that aspect.
I see how this game works now. It's very risky. Very risky game.
You have seasonal, options too, to where they might carry you for a couple months and then they pull you out because they don't think it's the right time of the year, or they take your product, bring it to another spice manufacturer or another manufacturer and say, hey, this is a great selling product. Make the same exact thing, but put our label on it. Because if you notice, basically every single grocery store, H-E-B, Walmart, Kroger's, Berkshire Brothers, they have their H-E-B line and then they have their Hill Country Fair line. And that's what they're doing with a lot of these stores. You look at someone like Buc-ee's. On the Buc-ee's contract to get inside of there, you have to make sure to sign that they're able to private label your stuff.
Right.
So
yeah, see, that's what I was asking about yours is like you go into a large manufacturing warehouse and a lot of the times like coffee to give an example. They'll make the same coffee for 100 different people. It's just a different. And right now, it's all I see. It's completely, that market is completely overwhelmed. I mean, literally every single time I turn around, I have a new friend or I see a new, somebody carrying their own brand of coffee. And I'm like, holy smokes, like literally everybody's selling coffee these days. And, how can you support all your friends' different coffee businesses when there's 100 of them out there to choose from? And really at the end of the day, it's all the same coffee. It just has a different label on it.
Yeah. And, that's one of the cool things with the spice world. With the coffee world, you can make a different coffee, right? You can roast it differently. You can add different flavoring to it and all that kind of stuff. But like you said, at the end of the day, most of everyone's stuff is kind of just being re-replicated. With the spice world, you can make it completely and totally different, just like you can with the barbecue sauce, with the beef jerky and all of that kind of stuff. So, and that's one of the things that, we really pride ourselves here at Grill Your Ass Off is like, I will not let a product go out on a shelf if it tastes like somebody else's stuff. And or if it's not a quality product. And that's one of the biggest things that I looked at is, me, whenever I was starting the business, I was like, I would never buy barbecue seasonings off of a website. Like that's insane, was my thought process. So I was like, how do I build a website and a product that people will? How could I convert someone like me that's like, oh, no, I'm not going to, I'm just going to pick it up while I'm inside the store. It's like, okay, I need great marketing. I need a great quality product label, and I need a product that's so good whenever you try it, you will come back to the website and buy it, and or go to the website, click on store locator and see who carries it around you and go buy it from a local business. And that's really, really helped us because, I mean, as you've tried the products, they're different from everyone else's. They stand out, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Yeah, I didn't really start to realize that whole price per square foot and that whole, hey, I'm going to drop $100,000 with you, but you're not going to see anything for 90 days or more. Oh, and just to let you know, if your product doesn't sell, we're going to completely devalue it, deface it, and you may get $20,000 from us. and you just lost $80,000 and your product was just thrown in the sewer.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of the, and if you don't know that going into it, like in your small business, and say like you find your foot in the door at the right place, 6 months into it and you've never done this before, that can totally destroy your business and destroy your livelihood. Sure. So it's very risky. So it's hard to work with the right people and to learn all of that, which is one of the reasons why we've kind of, stuck with the smaller mom and pop shops as we build a reputable company, to where if, we're doing all of our due diligence and, crossing our T's, dotting our I's, to where whenever we are ready to pull the trigger, which we are, like we're going to do with Ace Hardware, like it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
We've written that 5-paragraph op order to where we have redundancies built in, to where if something fails, we know exactly why, and we have a rebuttal for it.
Jason, what are your goals for this year and beyond?
This year is going to kind of be I'm going to do one. I'm turning my do not disturb back on. Sorry. So goals for this year is really kind of a cleanup, I guess would say, of what we had initially planned in 2021 and 2022. The pandemic was a hard thing for us. It was great in the beginning. The first 2 weeks of the pandemic, it was kind of one of those things. I looked at my guys and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how long we're going to be here for. Everything just shut down. Nobody's really buying anything or doing anything. And, the very next week we had like a record-breaking week because no one can go to the stores, but the post office and everyone else is still delivering, and people are stuck at home. They have to eat their own food. So our direct-to-consumer game grew drastically, and it was absolutely insane. So it was very beneficial for us. We also worked with a couple different, on the fulfillment side of things, talking about business. We went to a 3PL. So we had somebody else, we would manufacture, ship to them, and they would package and ship all of our products directly to the consumer, which was good. But at the same aspect of that, they weren't meeting our standards of what we wanted. So that was kind of one of those things like, hey, we take pride in the whole entire process of the journey. And if you're not going to do it the right way, you're not going to do it at all. So, and that's whenever we went back last year, moved into this warehouse, got everything set up, brought everything back in-house. And, we were working with external sales reps to really help us grow our B2B game. And again, it was one of those things. They weren't taking care of the customers the way that we would. So we ended up getting rid of about 40 sales reps across the country and replaced them with one veteran and one first responder. And they've been able to outperform them every single month since we failed them, because it's people who actually care about what they do and about our mission here. So last year it's just been a lot of moving logistical parts. So we have a backlog of products that we want to get out to our amazing customers, and we're really taking an effort of doing that. So anyone listening, make sure to check in, and not this Friday, but next Friday for cough, something new coming out, and doing things like that. So we're really working on that as well. We're growing into our B2B. We're working, obviously, as I said, with Ace Hardware, but we have 2 other potential major clients that we're currently working with. So growing that. And then, at the end of the day, long-term is just to be able to continue to build our community inside of Grill Your Ass Off with all of our customers, but also build our staff to be able to hire more veterans and first responders and give them that place, give them that home and that sense of purpose that a lot of us are looking for.
Very well said. Very well said. Folks, we're being joined by Jason Murff, the CEO of Grill Your Ass Off. He has some amazing seasonings and products on his website, grillyourassoff.com. That's grillyourassoff.com. Now, it looks like you turned COVID into perhaps roping in some new customers, and probably those customers are going to be around forever. It seems as if you have the type of brand that once you buy it, you're not going to go anywhere else. So it looks like you turned COVID a negative into a positive in the long run.
Yeah. And that's, businesses that stand the test of time, adapt and overcome to it. And that was one of the things, everyone's taught in the military: adapt and overcome to the situation. It doesn't matter how bad your day is going or how much of a soup sandwich you're currently in. Adapt and overcome to the situation. So it was one of those things. Like, COVID happened, we saw the stop in sales, but we saw that the carriers were going to continue going, and it was, hey guys, like, we can still serve you while you're stuck at home. And sales started blowing up. But then we ran into the issue of, hey, some of the manufacturers we're working with, their whole entire facilities are shut down. I only have so much inventory on hand. And it's like, oh shit, now, so we solved one problem, then we ran into another problem. And that, really allowed us to think outside of the box whenever it came to solving problems, and also finding other potential partners and manufacturers to work with to where that won't happen again. But to what you said, like, our biggest thing, and what anyone else who is thinking about going into business and or is in business right now, there's really two key components to, outside of profit margins. It's increasing your average order value and increasing your customer's lifetime value. And again, that falls down to a quality product. You're not going to have a high LTV or lifetime value for your customer if you have a bad product.
Look, guys, I hope you guys are taking notes, because we are speaking with one hell of an entrepreneur. I mean, we're learning new words today. LTV. I mean, all these words, especially if you have a product and you want to move a product and you want to get into stores, learn from this guy, because there's a lot of education in today's podcast. Probably one of the more educational podcasts that we're having, with dropping ass throughout the whole entire program. So, I mean, really, at the end of the day, guys, this is going to be something that's very educational and perhaps inspirational to somebody out there that may be on the fence, so wanting to start your own business in whatever it may be. Now, every bottle is made in Texas with pride, and each product sold goes to a nonprofit veteran organization or an event of Jason's choice. Now, we have about 1.5 minutes left. Can you name some of those nonprofits that you like to support?
Yeah, obviously, APE Outdoors with Travis Wilson. One of the things that really put us on the map is Sailor Jerry, Spice Rum, that a lot of us know from military days. They actually reached out to us and said, hey, we love what you do. We love the fact that you give back. We want you to make a barbecue sauce with our rum inside of it. And our first batch of barbecue sauce, which the check is right there, we were able to donate $4,181 to the Independence Fund off of one manufacturing run of barbecue sauce. And we're about to fire up and do another batch right now. So as well, you can go to our website, grillyourassoff.com, click on shop, click on charity bundles. And we have multiple different charities that we give back. And every time you buy one of those bundles, they get $5. So that's just, that's our why, and that's how we give back.
I love it. And knowing more about you now, as we only spoke for 10 minutes at the event, at the Ruck event for Alpha Elite Performance and Outdoors. And I'm very honored now, and I'm very proud that I spent some money on your products. I can't wait to try these two on my own creations. But I did try some of his stuff there, just in little cups, just kind of dabbing my finger in it. And I can tell you, they are all very solid products, and everybody out there listening today will all love and appreciate these seasonings made with pride in the great state of Texas here. So, Jason, I would like to sincerely thank you for joining us today, and thank you for everything that you're doing in the military and veteran community. Your service, your sacrifice, and dedication to our great nation is truly admirable.
I appreciate that. And I thank you for helping getting everyone's stories out, because there's so many amazing veterans and, first responders out here that need their stories told.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. Everybody has a story, and everybody's story is well deserving of being told. And I just hope that I could do it justice when
Yep.
I do have folks like you on my podcast. So, folks, with that, remember to stay inspired, stay encouraged, stay motivated, and always stay in the fight. Until next time, for Today with Tally, this is Brian Tally. Good night.